All right. Welcome to Health Second Opinion. Dr. Chad here with you. Excited about us in the second part of Love Your Guts and bringing you some more information and some truth to help transform your lives. And the reality is that this is great information, but it takes application. And so as we move forward with this information, I hope you start to really look for those things that you know you can do immediately and that are not maybe easy, but they're simple. Because there's that law of diminishing return, right? Lodi, the law of diminishing return or intent, sorry. Law of diminishing intent, meaning that literally for every minute or second, minute, day, week that goes by that you don't commit to doing what you know you need to do, then though it is so much more or less likely that you'll actually take action. And so with these things, it's really about taking these pearls of wisdom and immediately making change and starting to create the habit of success. And we start right here where we left off last week with, is it really possible to heal? And so many people are just lost in the ether out there of negative emotion and so downtrodden. And I mean, now it's just amazing the level of anxiety and stress and the amount of people who are overwhelmed with the sickness and the disease. And we're even more lost today than we were 2 years ago, in that a lot of people are really believing that the body is just really suspect and that there's no real health. And how do you know if you're healthy, and how do you know if you're going to survive, and just all of these things, and constantly inundated with this outside in model of healing that health can come from somewhere else outside of the body. And we aren't reminded enough by the fact that our bodies were created to heal. But it takes a concept of understanding where this health and healing comes from and really how to get it. And so we have to get back to that real definition of health, in that how do we help our bodies in each of the areas, the essentials to health and life, and how do we create a template of living that provides us with success that's duplicable. Wait, duplicate? Yeah, well, we'll go with that. How about it? So that you can duplicate it. And we can literally just take the template and plug it into your family and understand just what you're going to get, exactly how much it's going to yield because of the millions of other people that have already experienced it. And so when you think about your definition of health, a lot of people really just think, man, well, if I feel good, I'm healthy. And then it's the old adage, like, oh, man, well, if I feel good and then I look good, whew, now I know I'm healthy. And the reality is, ask the person that has a cavity before the cavity breaks through into the root, how they feel. That cavity's been eating a hole through their tooth for possibly years if they haven't been to the dentist, and found it and fixed it, and then they feel fine. The whole time, though, the tooth's getting a hole eaten through it. Ask the person who is about to drop dead of a heart attack, 6 months prior to that, how they felt. A month prior, for many people, a week or even a day. Some people who have 90+% blockage of an artery that's feeding the muscle, their heart, they feel good. And then ask the person who, a year before they find out they have 6 weeks to live with terminal cancer. How do they feel? Well, I mean, most of them felt good. And so the reality is that we have got to get back to the real definition of health, meaning that our health is about optimum function. And we have to stop allowing the conversation to be the pursuit of being symptom free. And it's all the things. I mean, it's like, it's so comical, the things that we hear on TV constantly about the many medications that are out there that are meant to treat the symptom of something. And, there's the green grass, and the people are running through fields and they feel great, and they look good, and their dogs with them, and all these kind of things. And maybe it's treating diabetes, and then, or anything, cancer, or it's treating, one that's really common and just blows me up is the psoriasis medications and the those things. And so it's like you have this, it'll lower the symptoms of psoriasis, let's say, but then it causes, call your doctor immediately if you have symptoms of chest tightness and you drop dead, or call your doctor if all of a sudden you can't control your bowels, or you start having blood in your stool, and you have all these other things that it causes, because it's treating the symptom. It's not providing the body with a better environment to heal. We have to become aware of the fact and make it common knowledge that the human body was created to heal. And given the proper environment, internal and external, the body will heal. So how do we provide that template? And that's really where we're going with things, is that we need the five essentials. All of us do. And we want to make sure that it's something that addresses the cause of the problem. So if we're going to deal with healing our guts and starting to express better internal health, then we have to be aware that there's a way to do that. And so it's really where we're at. And and this is for like I said, we're here in Love Your Guts, but the fact is that it's really applicable to any thing that you're trying to deal with the human body. And that is this, it's really a 3-step process. We want to identify the cause of that process and the cause of the problem, right? And then address what's interfering with the body's ability by removing the cause to allow that. And then we give the body time to heal, and we provide this environment long enough to allow the body to recover and then get back to normal. So that's a great concept, because I know that, the doctor, when I had shoulder surgery, he told me, hey man, this is going to be, at least 6 months before everything's healed up in there. And, it's going to take quite a long time. So be patient, be careful, and went through all these things. And then I went on and went to physical therapy and went through that process. And they're like, okay, yeah, everything's healed, but now you've really got this mature scar. And so this scar is really developed in there. And now we've got to break down that scar tissue and rebuild normal tissue through there, through the process of taking the body through this normal healing process. I mean, and a very less complicated thing, somebody breaks their ankle, or then they're in a cast for a little while, then they're in a walking boot for a while, and then around 12 weeks out, we know that their structure's back. But then maybe they need physical therapy to restore the motion and the control of that ankle. Same concept here. It's about identifying the cause of the gut sickness, identifying, and yours is different than anybody else's, and then identifying the interference that's causing that, and then restoring the vitality. So one of the biggest things that we have to be aware of is most of the time when we're talking about the intestinal tract, we're really talking a lot about our nutrition. What are we putting into this tube that runs through our body that we absorb all of our nutrition through? That's the number one thing that we have to do. And so we want to identify the top 5 foods that are really, really important and to remove, period. You just can't be consuming these on a regular basis and expect for your intestinal tract to be able to withstand it, especially long term. Somebody said to me the other day, like, well, I've always eaten like this. I grew up eating like this. Well, it didn't affect me when I was a kid. Well, yeah, I mean, maybe your body was younger and more adaptable and you were in a growth mode. and your body was in a maturation mode. But now, after years and years of toxicity buildup, your body isn't able to restore itself. So it's not just because you're getting older, it's because the accumulation of damage. And so these artificial sweeteners and colors are just amazing, just it destroying the gut bacteria and destroying the cells that line the gut and causing damage to those gap junctions and the literally the woven structure that is of these the interlocking of these cells that are the filtration between what's in the digestive tract and what makes it through into your bloodstream. And so when you look at these things, that's it's number one. And so you have to say, well, I mean, is that a big one for me? It was like we were flying back and forth to conference last week, and man, I was sitting on the plane. There was a person 2 seats over, and thankfully there was the space in the middle. But this girl was sitting there, and young, and it looked healthy, weight, everything for her height, and had good energy and everything else. But she sat down, she popped down her tray, and literally, man, I mean, this girl was eating Skittles, and then she had some kind of like puffed something or other, and then she had it was Chex Mix stuff. That was her meal. And I mean, I'm talking a big bags, not like a small thing of Skittles. I'm talking about the big industrial pack, and the big industrial pack of the Chex Mix and the puffed whatever it was. They were orange, so it might have been Cheetos, but I don't know. But it was just crap. And she was just pouring it out by handful and eating it. And I'm sure to her she's healthy, and she thinks that that's going to last. But what is building up from the artificial sweeteners and is that you? Does that resonate with you? Well, if it does, then there's the place to start to begin to restore balance to your digestive system. Gluten's a big cause of inflammation. So many people with celiac, or they're just gluten insensitive and things like that. These are, it's one of the biggest groups right there that so many people, especially those that are on top of that gluten sensitivity, are diabetic. And they don't often think of their diabetes. It's diabetic would think, well, hey, I need to address my artificial sweeteners, my sweet tooth, my this or that. Well, this stuff right here turns into sugar within 5 seconds of being in your mouth. So it's already being broken down into sugar. So this is another way. Not only is the gluten itself an inflammatory to the digestive tract, breaking down that digestive tract, making it easier for these particles to get in our bodies to create these autoimmune reactions. But in and of itself, it turning into sugar is yet another problem. The conventional meats, man, bad sources of protein and really toxic in the way that they're produced. So we have to be aware that removing these commercial meats, especially things like hot dogs and processed meats that are then filled with nitrates and nitrites that are poisonous in the way that they're concentrated in there as preservatives, it's just makes sense, right? When we stop and think about the fact that if you're eating a sick animal, then is it going to make you healthy somehow? I mean, it's like taking poison to get well. That's one of the things I'm not going to say, talk about, what your choices should be. But as far as cancer treatments are concerned, I mean, that is what chemo is. And maybe there's a point when the body is so overwhelmed with a tumor load or something where there has to be something done like that. That's a decision for you to make for you, if God forbid you ever come across that choice for you or one of your family members. But the fact is that it doesn't make common sense to me to poison the body to make it well. That just doesn't resonate with me. So you have to ask yourself if eating sick animals could somehow make you well. And if you think about and look up for yourself the way that conventional meat and fish and chickens and things are being raised, it's like we were talking about yesterday. A group of us were together and celebrating the life of my aunt who recently passed away, and just we were having some aside conversations and really talking about some of the things that we do typically in our lives. And it said that, one of the girls looked at me and said, well, I mean, if I can raise a chicken in, 6 weeks or 8 weeks, I forget whatever she said, then something's up to take it from the chick to the fully grown. And does that make sense? And yeah, it really does, and so we were all just sitting around talking about the fact that, and that's where a lot of these damaged and altered fats come from too, and that are sick animals, but also in the processed foods that we eat. So remember, we're identifying the cause for you. And then you got to remove that interference from your life. And then it's about allowing the time to heal. And so all of these damaged processed fats that are in the processed food, not because it's good for you, but because it tastes good and has a longer shelf life. So if maybe you're the person who, like a young lady who was in the office earlier today, and I looked at, man, you only eat 0 to 1 servings of vegetables a day. You only eat 0 to 1 servings of fruit a day. What are you eating? And it was hard for her to really say, well, what do you eat? Well, I mean, it was, a lot of processed food. And so these bioengineered things, that was a big source of nutritional damage for her and inflammation. And so what are we going to do is remove that for her. Excessive amounts of alcohol can cause an imbalance in the body, and it can be a poison to you. Now, I mean, lots of studies argue that, wine and very in moderation and things like that can have actual health benefits. And we're not going to argue those points now. It's all about all of these things I like to point out are moderation, or then it's just like, it's not going to kill you to eat a piece of pizza sometime, but if you eat pizza every day, then we got issues. And so the same thing goes here. And so we really want to stay focused on the solution. From here on out, throughout this segment, the next segment, we're going to be focusing on the solution to the issues. I feel like if you can really just take the time out to identify your own really, and just be real, to analyze your life and then say, that's my biggest thing. I know that. Am I going to deal with it or not? And then dive into those biggest things. This is as we get ready to replace it, I'd like to use, and I'm going to constantly go back and forth to Alan because he's just this great miracle story that's going on currently in the office. And I mean, we're walking through it right now through the last 8 months. And I want to share that, Alan, he doesn't know, and he says all the time, Doc, I don't know what I would do. Well, actually, I do know where I would be if it wasn't for you. And I always want to step back and we talk about that it's not me, the person, it's the concept. It's not me, it's the concept of real truth and nutrition and principles, and the principles that Max Living stands for, and these 5 essentials, the template for living that is replacing his old system that got him where he is. And just to dive on just the nutrition portion of it, it's like his Alan Brand, this guy's Alan's diet plan. This was a copy. This is something that he gave to me from what was told to him. Now, his MD is just as aware of the fact that he's been diabetic for many, many years, and that he was overweight for many years, and that he was on blood pressure medications and things for many years. And that the combination of all of these things for many years is what landed him having liver failure. And this is the American Fare 1,800 calories per day menu for 1 week. And right here its breakfast starts out with frozen pancakes. He can have four of them, 4-inch frozen pancakes. But wow, he's going to really do good with the sugar-free syrup. And then, oh, they did at least say some good blueberries in there. And then, 1% milk was suggested. I mean, this is a sugar bomb. It's a carbohydrate bomb on a diabetic and this is what was suggested, 2 slices of whole wheat toast, a cup of canned pineapple. You know what's in those canned pineapples? How much sugar is added to those things? And in its own juice with cottage cheese. Then the next day it's puffed rice cereal. I mean, cereal turns to sugar within 5 seconds of being in your mouth. And then you can have a couple tablespoons of raisins and then a banana. And I mean, this is recommendations. Oh my goodness. There's margarine on this too. So there's the damaged fats. This is what is literally being handed to people who are literally on death's doorstep. And this is why that Alan's MD I haven't heard of anyone his age actually doing what he's done. It's because they're handing out this kind of lies, this kind of misinformation, this kind of crap is what's killing people. And what's just sickening is that the millions of people who won't have access to this information because, hey, I hope to do a better job with these presentations to reach more people. And so is every other Max Living doctor around the country. And so should you. By empowering yourself with this information, empower others. Pass it on. Because literally people are dying. How many other people have been to that doctor, and for that doctor to say, I've never seen anybody in your age group do this good and reverse this like this. I've never seen anybody lose this much weight. I've never seen anyone get off all their blood pressure medications and off all their diabetes medications. I've never seen this. My statement is then you're not doing your job. If you're not seeing it regularly, then you're not doing your job and you're killing more people than you're helping. So pass them on to somebody else. That's my statement for that person. That doctor needs to get his life together. So let's deal with I get so infuriated with the lack of real health care because it's literally costing people their lives. You can't dance around that bush nicely. And so the fact is that people need so if you are going to fix the intestinal tract, then you have to at least be living at the foundational level of good principled health. Eating to live, not living to eat. Skipping the sugar and the alternatives, counting the toxicants, not calories, looking at the quality of your food. The quantity matters too, but the quality is what's more important. And so that's the core plan. When we think about looking at nutrition and saying, hey, where's the minimum standard? What am I not going to let myself fall below? And that's looking at the fact that we need the healthy fats. And those come from naturally raised products, things like nuts and seeds and wild caught fish and grass-fed beef and whole grains, these ancient grains, things like quinoa, aramuth, and buckwheat, and things like this. And then the fruits and the vegetables, eating from the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15 at a minimum, if not 100% organic. And then getting your carbs from plant-based sources. This is for those people who are watching this that are looking to they know they've been doing pretty darn good their whole life. They're the fortunate 10%. And they want to stay there. Or maybe you're somebody who is saying, man, I've really not known this information and not looked at my life this way. I've been, surviving instead of trying to thrive. Then it's, okay, the core plan is that first step. It's that I'm going to get on board with these concepts but I can't go all the way in. There's too much of a gap. So we're bridging the gap to get you used to and get your body starting to, like I say, the minimum standards, bridging the gaps. And so this is where we go. That's the core plan. And it's also that place where once a person is in their vibrant state, looking at their life at functioning closer to 100%, not just leaving a bunch of blind spots, where they don't know, they're not measuring their health. They're eating and they don't know if the food's toxic. Like if right now you said, what's the dirty dozen and what's the clean 15? You're in the group that you're not counting your toxicants. You're not looking at things from a way of minimizing the amount of pollution that's coming in so that you don't have to focus so much on getting it out. And so that's just there's your clue. And then looking at this from that standpoint of you can always be here. Eating on the core plan is going to create vitality. It's going to minimize the amount of toxic substances coming in. And it's going to be that baseline. And one of the things I love about the Align Your Health book and is that, it sets that up, and it's in the nutrition chapter. And then there's the chapter, the appendix on the core plan. And then there's all the recipes that go along with it, learning how to cook, how to replace these ingredients. And then, some of the standards on food label reading and things like that. And so there's one aspect. Then we look at the top 5 things that we really need to be eating routinely. And that is making sure you get good, clean proteins coming into your body. If you're not eating 100% organic, grass-fed beef, chicken, wild-caught fish on a regular basis, or you want to do meal replacements, this is where we talk about things like grass-fed whey protein that we carry, the plant protein, and also Pure Path protein, which is it's a bone broth protein. So you're getting a lot of the collagen building blocks that come in there. But either way, it's really about focusing on those clean proteins coming in, making sure that you're eating your cruciferous vegetables regularly, so that you're getting all those sulfur compounds to be able to build glutathione, which is one of your biggest intracellular detoxifiers. And then you're getting good healthy fats also from nuts and seeds on a regular basis, so that, again, minimizing the amount of pollution that's coming in, getting your berries, organic, of course, fresh fruit and berries, and that they're organic. There's many things, just like a lot of your greens. There's one of your dirty dozen greens and things like strawberries and blueberries and things like that. They're high pesticide sprayed. So they're in that group of the dirty dozen. So making sure that you're getting those on a regular basis to get the antioxidant content, and then the healthy fats from things like avocados and avocado oil and olive oil and coconut oil, making sure that those healthy fats are there on a regular basis. So then, you can always dial things up for those people who are wanting to literally try to restore their body back to health. You haven't been eating like this. This has not been your minimum standard. Then you're immediately going into the advanced plan to be able to look at, again, how do I give my body everything it needs to minimize the amount of inflammation? It's about providing that internal environment that's so low in added inflammation that the body's able to really focus on restoration. Remember that the level of breakdown equal to the level of build up is just maintaining your health. If that breakdown of the body is accelerated, well, then you're creating damage, inflammation, accelerated aging. What we want to do is put the body in that low level of inflammation by really focusing on getting rid of all the grains to minimize the carbohydrate load. Only low glycemic index fruits and berries, and then the rest of the tenets from the core plan still apply, meaning that we're getting all our fats from good healthy sources, and that we're eating only wild caught, grass-fed, pasture-raised, whatever you want to say, all of the free range, those different things, basically eating like we did 50 years ago without all the pesticides. That's where we want to go. And those are the basics to provide a low inflammatory state, to reverse the aging process and the degeneration of the guts, and allowing ourselves to then get into the last section of this, which is going to be the 3 R's, which is the removal of and the restoration of the gut. And so looking at the 3 R's and starting our gut healing protocols is where we'll move on during segment 3. So next week, we'll see you back here, same time, same channel, at Health A Second Opinion. Hope you live blessed. And remember, it's thriving, not surviving.